We have entered a post-nuclear warfare period because of AI. When it comes to offensive capability, AI creates new weapons of war, with the biggest being drones.
Warfare is changing. Less humans, more machines, more remote AI, making decisions at the edge, being autonomous as much as possible. Yes, that's the future.
Most of us are aware of how drones are currently used on the battlefield. A lone human operator drives a drone into enemy territory for the purpose of gathering intelligence or to drop a very limited ordnance, like a single grenade, onto the enemy. Indeed, we have seen this repeatedly in the war between Russia and Ukraine. However, military futurists are already honing in on the capability of drones to be bolstered to a staggering degree when AI is introduced into the mix. The most talked about is the ability of large groups of drones to create drone swarms. These very large groups of drones would be able to launch coordinated attacks that would overwhelm enemy defenses. Enter Xtend defense.
So we've allowed for anyone, basically any untrained operator, to actually operate a team of drones. So not one, 3, 5, 10 drones together in a complex mission.
Xtend is a global leader in AI-powered autonomy and tactical drone solutions and is already working with the United States Department of Defense. In fact, a reliable source informed me that it was Xtend's drone that Hamas terrorist mastermind Sinwar welcomed to his living room moments before his own demise. You remember that video. Xtend's founder and CEO, Aviv Shapira, joined me on this episode of Some Future Day to provide expert insights surrounding this very fast-growing military vertical, drones. Aviv Shapira from Xtend, it is such a pleasure to see you today. Welcome to Some Future Day. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Marc, for having me. Great to be here.
Aviv, I really have gotten to love you. And one reason is because you have such a eclectic, wide range of interests. Your personality is knowledge-based in so many different fields. And something that really gave me a smile is in researching and preparing for today's conversation, I saw that your people categorize you as an aerospace engineer with 2 Emmy Awards. I would have to say it's probably fair to assume that you are the only aerospace engineer with 2 Emmy Awards on the planet. Is that fair?
I'm still looking for my mate, for my I guess it is a bit strange to read it at first, like a rocket scientist with 2 Emmy Awards. It is what it is, it just means I'm trying to be versatile as much as I can.
Well, let's get into it, though. The Emmy Awards came before the rocket scientist piece, correct?
Yes. So, I mean, no. Yes and no. So I always loved aviation ever since I remember myself. I was building rockets while I was living in the US. I was always into aviation and aerospace engineering. Eventually I worked in that field as well. So I was in the Israeli Air Force. I worked with some big aerospace and defense companies. The Emmy Award came after, right? So after a long career in this space, I decided to, test my startup skills to the extreme. So I opened a media company. We actually invented a new video format that allowed people to actually teleport themselves into sporting arenas and see the world from different angles.
Just wait, just so I get that right. So people could teleport themselves into sporting arenas.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm covering that. And you did that with FIFA too, right? Like this wasn't just like small little sporting moments, events, and stadiums. This was like major leagues, right?
It was actually with the biggest leagues in the world. Let me show you. I mean, what do you consider like the best sport in the planet?
My favorite sport on the planet is the National Hockey League, the NHL.
National Hockey League. So if I switch only one letter from H to F, you have the NFL. Is that good enough?
The NFL is great. Unfortunately, I'm suffering right now because I'm a Giants fan, but let's see it.
So what you're seeing here is what we did. Everything you see here is based on a volumetric video, so three-dimensional pixels being reconstructed in real time in order to actually give you the ability to see the sport from any angle. So what you see here is what was seen on television, but imagine putting like a VR display on your head and seeing the game from any different angles. So this is what I did as an aerospace engineer. Going back to your to your question.
That's where you won your Emmys, right? This is the space where you won your Emmys.
Yeah. So actually, interesting story, but this is me, on the red carpet.
Cool.
Unfortunately, every time I came to New York to win an Emmy, I lost twice. And the only two times we won an Emmy Award was when I wasn't there. So I don't know what it means, but it is what it is.
Stay out, stay out. But it's an incredible story because as an entrepreneur, you really built up that company and then flipped it, I believe, to Intel for a significant amount of money. So it's not just the critical acclaim, but you actually had great commercial success too.
Yes, I mean, Intel acquired Replay for roughly $200 million as a VR and AR company. So imagine, you place these virtual reality glasses on your head and you find yourself somewhere else and you're in Cowboys venue in real time, whatever. And then I guess, from there we started to build this new vertical within Intel, making sports more personalized and immersive. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because I could start to see the line from what you did with volumetrics and then extending into gaming with drones, right? That was kind of your next step before Xtend.
Yeah.
Correct?
So, actually, following my exit to Intel and a few years there, we thought that the next evolution has to be around telepresence as well. So how do I teleport myself again, but not into a sporting arena? Somewhere I want to go somewhere real. I actually want to interact with the world. So we decided that robots and drones are the next thing. Imagine going into a drone and flying in a jungle or in a safari in Africa. Being between the animals or just going wherever I want in the world. And that was everything behind Xtend. This is how everything started for us there. Being this, new way of exploring the world from your house, from your computer.
Aviv, a lot of my guests have this common trait. They're very motivated. They're highly successful. They build and flip companies. They run major companies, all into the billions of dollars. So you go and you build this company and you flip it for 200 million to Intel. At that point, what are you thinking? You're like, oh, we could go ahead now and we could transport into, a different environment, but you could have just taken that money off the table and transported yourself and your family physically onto a beach somewhere and called it the day. So what is that unique trait that you have as an individual that creates the fire that motivates you? Like, why not just hang it up at that point? I mean, it's super successful already. Why did you keep going? What's the unique trait that you have that inspires you to continue to build?
I think I'm not the only one who says that, but entrepreneurs have that in their genes, in their body, in their blood. I personally started my first startup, my first business when I was 10 years old. My parents bought me like this parakeet, like a parrot, and I said, I don't understand what am I supposed to do with it. So I bought another one and I started to breed them. I had like hundreds
At
of
10.
birds. Yeah, I had like hundreds of birds in my yard, and I just started to sell them all over the country. At some point, I was the biggest supplier of parrots in the center of Israel. And it's I don't understand why I'm doing it. It's definitely not for the money. It's not that. It's about innovating. It's about creating new things. And definitely, it's not the last startup. It's number 4 for me today. Definitely there will be number 5 and 6.
Aviv, do you think entrepreneurship is something that is innate? This thing that you're talking about, this motivating factor, is it innate or is it something that one can learn?
Definitely one can learn. I mean, we all learn every day. I'm also trying to learn every day in my life. I guess the number one characteristic that describes a good entrepreneur is not how good he is with finding ideas. It's not how good he executes ideas. It's how good that person deals with all of the problems and all of the walls that are faced in front of him. Every time you try to build a startup or try to execute an idea, you get the answer no, or someone is going to do this better than you, or someone already thought about this idea, or you're not going to be able to do it, or there's regulation, there's not enough money for you to. So there's enough excuses to give you no as an answer, and the ability to to listen, to not with your head and then continue. When people shut down the door, I go from the window. That's the number one characteristic that we need as entrepreneurs.
Well, that resilience, though, it doesn't sound like that's something you can necessarily learn in, academia. The other thing is drive, right? So I understand, I heard Elon say that he works about 120 hours a week. There are only 168 hours in a week. So how many hours a week are you working right now as you're building Xtend? I mean, you're getting so much momentum. So are you in that 120 hour a week range as well?
First of all, I hope when my wife Lilac watches this, she doesn't know. But when I go to sleep, I give myself like at least one challenge I have to solve by the time I wake up in the morning during my dreams. So I don't know if that counts as hours, but I guess practically I work between 12 to 15 hours every day. And there is a great book I recommend called Outliers that actually describes that good entrepreneurs and people who actually made the change in the world and actually did big things worked in their domain for 10,000 hours. Many examples, from tennis players to people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. So I think it doesn't matter how smart you are and how good of an entrepreneur you are, you still have to invest these hours. If you go and watch Netflix all day, you're probably not gonna make it.
When was the last time you watched Netflix?
So I actually try to watch or do go on a date with my wife at least once a week. So I don't know if it counts, but I have a date once a week.
There you go.
Where I'm not allowed to work during that time.
So she shuts you down. Let's focus though on this new endeavor, this new enterprise, Xtend. I mean, you're really killing it again. It's incredible. It's described as a global leader in AI-powered autonomy and tactical drone solutions. Xtend is a global leader in AI-powered autonomy and tactical drone solutions. Aviv, what does this mean?
Yeah, what are you talking
For the average layperson, for the person watching this right now, what does that mean?
No, I will explain. Okay, so I'm sure that most of the people watching this have seen a drone fly or flown a drone themselves, and they've probably noticed that it's not that trivial to tell the drone left and right and up and bottom to actually make it do complex things or actually work in complex environments. So what we've done in the past 5 years, a long time, and let me share my screen as I talk. So we've allowed for anyone, basically any untrained operator, to actually operate a team of drones. So not one, 3, 5, 10 drones together in a complex mission. So the way we do this is we don't allow them to fly and control these drones manually. So for example, if you want to go through a window, you don't maneuver the drone left and right and forward. The only thing you do is point at the window. That's it. And because it's that easy to operate, this software, we call it an operating system, unlocks many things that were not possible until today. For example, flying inside a building, inspecting a tunnel or a pipe, flying between buildings, underneath trees. things that were not possible until today, just because of how hard it was to fly these drones. So this is like very, very shortly, what we do.
Well, I know you're not at liberty to disclose this, but it's well established in some circles that your technology, Xtend's technology, was the drone that flew in and took that iconic video of the Hamas leader, the Hamas terrorist Sinwar, moments before his demise. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, but what I would like to do is certainly break down some of the components that you just shared as it relates to defining what an AI-powered autonomy and tactical drone is. So, for example, you started talking about the fact that there's a unified controller, that it's capable of almost driving itself to the window, if I understand correctly. You said if the drone needs to go through the window, there's a certain amount of human guidance, but it seems like this vehicle is this robot is driving itself into the window. Am I correct in understanding that?
You're correct, and I'll show you a visual example, right? So let's assume you want to fly into this building, okay? So traditionally, you would need to maneuver the drone, a bit left and then right, and then hope that you're not going to hit that wall. So use AI, not as a buzzword, but really as a feature that really helps the user navigate. So the first thing we do is detect, what can I do as an operator. So in this case, the system recognizes openings in the building, right? That's very simple. Then the only thing I need to do as an operator, I basically select the relevant window, and boom, I'm there. I'm inside.
Okay.
This is an example from the Turkey earthquake last year. So again, the system lets you, gives you like a menu of things you can actually do. So I'm moving in this crack. I'm moving into this window, and that actually makes the whole operations very, very, very simple. Now, on top of that, we added layers of AI. So let's say I want to recognize a face. I want to, understand that this is a car, this is a motorcycle. So everything's built around AI and around the user to actually allow him to conduct, like a very complex mission and with zero training from anywhere in the world.
Okay, so that's your advantage, right? Like there are tons of companies popping up and using artificial intelligence to create drones, but one big point of difference, one advantage for Xtend is the fact that the human does not have to have military experience. They can have very limited training and like minimal training and limited experience. And the other piece that I understand is that the individual could be any place in the world. So I could be operating the drone from my living room, and the drone could be I could be guiding the drone from my living room in New York City, but yet the drone could be in Paris. Is that right?
Exactly like that, and you can, by the way. I think that it's important to say that a lot of companies have been trying to go all the way to fully autonomous systems. Same as in the car industry, people try to develop autonomous cars that are fully autonomous and drive in the streets of New York, and you still don't see that happening because the real world environments are not that trivial. They're not, I would say, repetitive, and things happen. You cannot really foresee everything. And this is why you need AI combined with people. And that interface, we call it human machine teaming, is what makes us special. So how can I actually orchestrate a team of drones and robots in a very complex environment using autonomous technology? So this is exactly what we do. And I think it's the only practical way to actually operate in this environment, and especially in defense and homeland security.
Aviv, you also use the term of art in describing this. You use the word specifically swarm. Can you explain what that means and also how artificial intelligence is used to allow for the drones to interact together when they're in that swarm mode?
Yeah, so a swarm has I would say a negative effect in the industry. Like thousands of drones trying to kill someone and suiciding. For us, a swarm is a group of robots and drones that operate together and actually help one another. So I want to take you to a different space. Let's take and I'll try to search for an example to show you. Let's talk about search and rescue. So imagine you have like 5 or 10 or even 20 drones flying above buildings and inside buildings, and once one of them finds, someone that has to be rescued, all the other drones know about it. So the information is actually sent between them. It's like our it's like our computers or and our phones are connected in this Ethernet, in this wireless connectivity. This is the same that our drones operate in. So there's a network of drones and robots that operate together as a swarm. We actually call it a team. It's a nicer word for it, and they help one another.
In Star Trek, I think they referred to it as the Borg.
Yeah, I should start calling it the Borg, but
Right.
But I'll try to show you an example where we actually went out for an expedition to I don't know if you saw this one, trying to save people in the earthquake in Turkey. In this example, all of the drones operated together as a team. In this case, I think we had like 12 or 15 of them together. The idea basically is that some of them fly outdoors, some of them fly indoors, and all of them operate different types of applications. So what you're seeing now is an application that looks for people. So this square that you see is an AI application. It found a 60-year-old woman, which was later saved about an hour later by these search and rescue personnel.
Congratulations. That's super incredible. And, when you talk about using drones to save lives, using swarms for search and rescue missions, obviously that's exceedingly time sensitive, right? And one of the features of your technology that really caught my attention is that your drones are really fast, man. They are like super fast. I read that they go up to 300 kilometers per hour. For those in America, that's almost 200 miles per hour, right? So is that a difficult feat? Is it tough to have them operating at such a high speed? And does that somehow hurt their accuracy?
So I would say other companies can fly that fast. It's a physical, you select the right motors and the right battery and you fly that fast. But then again, others, the only thing they do is fly between waypoint A and B and C. So, an automatic flight between waypoints. Because it's so easy to fly, like we saw before, what you can actually do is allow a human to actually control these drones in these very, very fast flights. So we actually took that capabilities and started to do air defense. Today in Israel and in the US, we're doing, it's called the hard kill air defense versus drone threats. So if it's a UAV, if it's a quadcopter coming to, to our base, to our stadium, across the border, we use very, very fast drones to intercept them. It's a fully autonomous system, but the only thing the human does is, select targets, avoid hitting things like birds or other elements in the skies. So that's it is something we've mastered as a company, and that's also thanks to the operating system that makes everything very, very easy to operate.
Well, you say that so calm, but like how does the execution take place? So the drone is identifying this object that's infiltrating the airspace, right? And then is the drone attacking that object? Is it actually launching something at it?
I'll show you an example. So this is actually together with our partners in the US. So in this example, we had 40 drones, DJI drones that we had to intercept. The drone that intercepts them is one that can fly not 300. This is like 150 kilometers per hour. The funny thing here is that we actually let our end users in the U.S. Department of Defense actually fly these drones and intercept during the trial itself. The reason why the number is 44 because 4 of them actually survived the crash. So we had to, then again, take them off and intercept them. So this is an example of a drone that uses a net to intercept other drones. Other models that we have are kinetic. So they have explosive devices that explode at the right moment in time.
Aviv, what do you see as the future as it relates to that? Is it all going to be explosive?
I think for defense applications, it will probably be mostly explosive. But if you have like a MLB venue, um, you know, and a drone is coming to try to hurt people or just take photographs. We know that cyber technology is not good enough today, just because some of these drones fly without communications. We also fly without communications, but I would say that intercepting drones like that requires a hard kill solution. So you need a type of net or something that will actually capture them and take them to safety. And intercepting with them with explosives is not gonna fly with the local municipalities.
Yeah, I
I
guess
don't
that
think so.
makes sense, right? I guess that makes sense because I'm only thinking in like the field of war, but you're talking about protecting civilians at sporting events, at theater, mass
Yeah,
gatherings,
it's all over.
concerts, right? It goes way beyond what my little feeble mind is thinking, right?
Yeah, in the last 2 years, we've seen drones, both quadcopters and fixed wings, start to fly without comms and without GPS. So imagine this piece of metal flying in the skies. You cannot really jam it, spoof it. You have to somehow kill it, shoot it somehow with a laser, with a gun, with a drone. So we are developing these, we call it effectors. So drone versus drone that actually go and hit them and intercept them. This has been a big part of the conflict here in Israel in the past 12 months.
Well, that's really interesting. But, to stay focused on the United States and your comment earlier as to what it means to be entrepreneurial, to have that drive to be successful, I don't think that there's any higher acclaim for an item like this than the fact that the United States Department of Defense recently awarded Xtend a contract to deliver hundreds of precision strike indoor and outdoor systems, PSIOs. What is a PSIO system and why is that important right now?
So a PSIO stands for Precision Strike Indoor Outdoor. We did that in partnership with an office called IWTSD under the Pentagon. And that is the first product in the market to actually allow for US soldiers, if it's SOCOM or if it's Army or Navy or Air Force, to actually work and operate a loitering munition drone. Now, a loitering munition drone is a drone that can actually carries explosives that actually replaces soldiers in the field of battle. Instead of going there physically and doing dangerous missions and risking their lives, you can actually send a drone to do the job for you. So I'm happy to say, we're probably one of the first in this category that already passed all the regulations, all the safety boards, and that's something that took us a few good years to do with a lot of technology and obviously a lot of operational experience from other conflicts.
So, Aviv, does that mean that armies of the future will be without human soldiers?
That's our vision. But like we have humans, supervising the drones, you would probably still have soldiers on the ground. We're doing our best to replace most of the difficult missions with drones and robots. Today we have both ground, air, and maritime solutions in Xtend. And we are mostly focused on aerial solutions like drones, but we see a huge demand for unmanned surface vehicles, boats, submarines, ground vehicles, specifically ground dogs, things like Boston Dynamics and others have been very, very needed in different markets and different applications. And obviously they have much more battery, they can run for hours, they can carry much more, so that's also very important.
Well, how long does, I guess that begs the question, right? Like, how long can one of your drones operate now? Like, what's the flying time? How far can they go? How far is the distance? If I want to launch one of your drones from New York City and attack in Westchester, can I? Can I? If I want to attack in Boston, can I? If I want to attack, Canada, can I?
Hopefully you're not going to attack these places, but but there's no limitation for distance. We've actually operated drones, quadcopters, from 9,000 kilometers away in the past. So the drones have your normal Starlink or 5G, 4G connectivity, and you basically operate them from anywhere you want. You just need to connect to them somewhere. Open a portal in your Google Chrome or whatever. And you can operate them anywhere. So distance doesn't really matter. If you're asking about the physical flight time, it depends on the drones. We work with any drone platform, with any ground robot, so we can our operating system can actually be used almost anywhere.
So I'm sure you heard there are like all these drones being identified. They're flying right here outside of above New Jersey. And people are speculating they're Chinese drones. They're not friendly drones. In your mind, do you think it's possible that these are actually like foreign governments coming in and spying on American installations?
The answer is yes and no. That there are definitely Chinese drones, because this is what people buy at Best Buy. People buy DJI, so they are Chinese. If they spy on you, I don't know the answer to that. Some people online say that there's a backdoor to China, and every video that you take is there in the servers of China. I can't comment. I don't really know the answer to that, but definitely it is something we are trying to do. We are a U.S. company, so we are trying to produce U.S. drones in the U.S. Without any backdoors. Everything is cyber assessed, and everything is good to go.
So, I can't help, obviously, like I'm hung up in the drama of these new spying machines, these new killing machines. But in sitting down with you before today's show, most of our conversation was focused on how these new machines are providing for safety and security. And I want to give you an opportunity. I know you touched on it a little bit, but I'd like to give you an opportunity to like really unpack that more. I mean, from your perspective, this isn't really about spying and killing. There's a lot more here that's important as it relates to safety and security. So why don't you talk about that side of these machines?
So everyone thinks that drones are being used in defense, to help soldiers and such. There are actually three great adjacent markets next to defense. One of them is obviously public safety, so allowing police officer and firemen, to go into buildings, to always be in front of the security personnel to de-risk their operations. So people also see some of that on the streets. The other two markets, which are less known, are private security. So we all know, there are security guards. If it's in in banks, in shopping malls, whatever. We believe that this market of security guards is a problematic one. Salaries are going up. The world is getting more and more dangerous, and there is a need for technology to replace these personnel, or at least help them.
Sure.
So we've been working in this space, not necessarily drones, by the way, more ground robotics, to actually replace these human security guards in some places. Obviously, remote places where you don't really need to interact with people all the time. But I wouldn't guard like a government building with this. But definitely on remote sites that need 24-hour surveillance, these drones and robots can actually replace humans. And the last one is search and rescue. You saw an example from Turkey, but it's the world is what's happening with the climate changes. You see more landslides, more hurricanes, more earthquakes. We need more and more technology to save people in all of these horrible places. I myself participated in an earthquake in Turkey, but we also participated in the last hurricane, on the east coast of the U.S. I think a few weeks ago. We helped save people, and I think that's an amazing place I would like to participate in and scale as much as I can and help.
Yeah, that's a beautiful and necessary thing for sure. But going back to my little minor obsession with regards to the art of war, I write about in my new book this evolution of weaponry and war coming like kind of like post-nuclear and moving into drones and the efficiencies that are built from drones for small nations in particular. Time and expenses are incredible. I analogize in my book the idea of, a big military force like America. It's almost like a tanker at a macro level, right? Like we have all this machinery, we have all of these individual soldiers, but we have to move very slowly compared to like what drones bring now to a smaller nation state, where they're almost like a speedboat. So do you see like the art of war fundamentally changing in like a post-nuclear time period? And if so, how do you see that? How do you see that unpacking?
I think the background for traditional tanks and jets and boat big weapon vessels are there because the people making the decisions are ex-pilots, ex-admirals from the Navy. By the way, this is a global thing, right? When you think about it, so people who served in infantry and had tanks are now in command, so they buy more tanks, right? This is the way it goes. You don't really see generals that come from the space of AI, right, and robotics. And this is why I know Elon Musk said a few weeks ago that he doesn't understand why we keep on budgeting fighter aircrafts. It doesn't make sense to have a human flying in the sky at 3,000 kilometers per hour with all of these suits and EMI protections and everything around the human, where you can actually build an unmanned aircraft that does it much better. So definitely the world is going to unmanned. With time it will happen. And it became much easier now to actually build these robots and drones. The go-to market is now, you can open a company or open a small business, and within 1 year you can have your own drones, your own robots, and they operate. The barrier of entry is very, very small compared to building a jet. So we understand that, and this is why Xtend became a software company. So we power these drones, we power these robots to actually operate together, operate as a team, operate very easily for anyone to operate in complex environments. But just to summarize, warfare is changing. Less humans, more machines, more remote, AI, making decisions at the edge, being autonomous as much as possible. Yes, that's the future.
Aviv, will the world be a more dangerous place because of drones?
It will be a sinus effect. It will be more dangerous until we come up with the antidotes and with protecting it, and then it's like cyber. One day the enemy wins, one day we win. So I think I'm happy to be on the good side of the world. And trying to protect the ally countries of the US, but we see very, very complex technologies and advanced technology coming from our enemies out there, which are harder and harder to actually defeat. So we work very hard to do that.
The other thing that's interesting that we'll have to shift also, like my background as an attorney has me focus on international laws of war and issues of ethics. So I'm not sure artificial intelligence will allow for those unique situations that arise on, in the war playing field. AI, I don't think will be able to like make an ethical decision. I'm curious as to what you think. Like, for example, I heard Paul Share, who's a former U.S. military, fought in Afghanistan. He told this story about, well, first of all, the laws of war effectively don't cover, the international laws don't cover how old an individual needs to be, but rather what the threat is, the perceived threat from the individual. So apparently, like he and his military colleagues were in Afghanistan fighting, and they saw a young girl, a girl that was below the age of 18, and she was spying on them and watching them, and they were watching her, and they didn't do anything. And then she disappeared, and shortly thereafter, I guess like a group of Taliban soldiers came to attack, and they took out the Taliban, right? But they never took her out. And I wonder, and he poses this question, like, would artificial intelligence, would a drone have said she's spying and therefore she's conducting, something that an act that's within the ethics of war, like they could have shot her, they could have taken her out, but they decided not to. Would the drone, would the robot have taken her out? So I think the ethics and the laws are going to shift a little bit. I don't know if you've given some thought to these types of situations, and, beyond that, like, can AI solve those issues? Will AI distinguish of like, oh, maybe we shouldn't kill this kid, even though the kid is creating a threat to our military? Or do they just, boom, take them out?
Yeah. So first of all, it's not only that we thought about it. I want to share with you our vision as a company, right? So this is the first thing that I present when I talk about Xtend. This is what I wake up in the morning. So believing in a safer world, powered by AI, yes, like you said, powered by AI, but supervised by humans. So this is what we believe in. This is who we are, and yes, AI can be bad, right? AI is probably, if you give it a free hand, it will probably do things which you were not expecting, not for a good cause. This is why we always have a human supervisor. It's part of who we are. It's part of the future of robotics, and this is why it's such important to scale this AI combined with humans, like we called it before, human machine teaming. Otherwise, we can make we can make a very big mistake for where this is going, or for humanity is going with robotics, specifically with defense applications.
Yeah, but surely, I mean, the way the world is. Surely, the bad actors are not going to really include the supervised by humans component that you're talking about. They won't care, right? And that's just the reality. Here's an interesting fact. Fortune Business Insights says that the military robots market cap is going to hit 26 billion in just 2 years from now, in 2027. So I'm curious, which region of the world will benefit most from that growth?
They say that the U.S. Military government is bigger than the entire world combined. We find that it's true, but because of what's happening right now in Europe, it's not true anymore. I would say maybe it's 30%. Countries like Poland, obviously Ukraine, all the countries around Ukraine, specifically, even Finland and Denmark. We're seeing, Germany. We're seeing defense budgets are, doubling in some countries. So it's global, focused on Eastern Europe and the U.S. markets.
Yeah, it's really amazing. How big of a role is artificial intelligence in building the momentum for that growth? In other words, if a particular region or entity is excelling quicker at developing a very smart AI, if they're training AI in a better way, does that allow for the entire ecosystem of hardware to benefit from that too? Or is there a deficit with regards to hardware with the physical drone or the physical robot, and the AI has already surpassed it? Like, what's the tension? What's the balance there between the AI, the artificial intelligence learning, and the hardware that's available?
I've actually seen programs that design your chipset. I've seen AI applications that program your code. So that means that the barrier to actually develop weapons is now much easier. I mean, anyone can open GPT, right, or another tool, and design a weapon now. Just think about it. How crazy is that? Now, the balance to your question, today AI is still a buzzword, I think, still. I mean, everyone is using it at some point, like you saw, we're using it as well. But it's not yet replacing soldiers. It's not yet, like removing tanks and jet fighters from the field. But this is where it's going. AI fighting AI. Can you imagine that?
So break that down a little bit. What does that mean, AI fighting AI? I mean, if you have a situation where human supervisors are in a remote location, nowhere near the battlefield, and you have AI fighting against AI, is that creating just like some level of detente? What does that mean exactly?
It's the first time I'm saying that, so I would say that they will keep on fighting one another until we've all seen Terminator, right? Until someone goes and takes out the plug and kills the servers, right? So there's a famous quote by Albert Einstein. Everyone is asking him, how is the Third World War is going to look like? He says, do you know this quote? He says, "I'm not sure about the Third World War, but the fourth one will be fought by sticks and stones." So eventually, we understand that AI is very dangerous when you give it the opportunity to go into defense. I'm happy to say that we are a very ethical company. I'm sure that every other company in the US like us is ethical, but unfortunately, our enemies might be doing things that are unpredictable, and we're gonna have to keep on being very, very creative to win, like we've always done.
So, in thinking about that Albert Einstein quote a little bit more, like, what is it about the human condition that we want to fight so badly? We want to kill each other so badly that we're willing to, like, basically knock ourselves back into the Stone Age. What's wrong with us?
I think that everyone has a different interest, right? So, the US is trying to make the world safer. And also trying to guard its interests, if it's fossils, if it's different borders. Ukraine, again, if you look at the reasons for the war, is it natural resources? Is it a crazy or someone who is just trying to conquer the world? So I would think that in the future, this is my prediction only, right? With the global warming, more and more people and countries will actually fight to survive. Just to I've seen some very, very disturbing statistics about even in the US, in California, where they used to have like X amount of homegrown fruits and vegetables, and suddenly it's almost all gone, and they're importing everything from outside. So today, people are fighting for fuel, and the next future is gonna be for food and water.
Aviv, your drones are interesting because they actually are tried and true in the field, right? Whether it's search and rescue or war or whatever it might be. So it's very practical, right? Your technology is being used in a very current way. What do you anticipate it looking like or evolving to in 12 months, in 18 months, in 5 years? It's got to be like mind blowing, right?
So we're working on three vectors very, very hard. One is that one user, one operating system can control any robot, any drone. So today, robots and drones can do one thing very, very well, but they suck at everything else. A delivery drone cannot fly inside a building, for example. So that's one unified controller for the whole fleet of tools you have. The second is applications. We understand, like Apple and Google did, we are not the smartest people on the planet, so other people develop applications for us. So we have something called the Xtend App Store. It's still not as evolved and developed as we would like it to be. And the last thing is remote. We are today one of the most advanced companies for remote operations. So, operating people, like you mentioned, from your house in New York all the way to Brazil, whatever. So that's the future of robotics in the next few years to come.
Aviv, which region of the world, which country do you think is really at the forefront of drones specifically right now? Where does the United States sit as it relates to maybe a country like China or Russia?
Definitely China is the most advanced.
In the world?
Yes, definitely, 100%. Not only drones, most unmanned systems. Then I would say, the US is probably the next one, coupled with, we're a US company, but we have very smart people in Israel. We're keeping that balance between being a US company with an R&D in Israel. There's very, very talented people in Ukraine. One of the reasons why they're very good at what they do is because they have to survive. They want to wake up for another day. So they are innovating, all day long just to survive, just to make sure they have bread on the table. Not bread on the table, it's so they can breathe, This is how I see, the powers of the world today.
Every guest I have on Some Future Day works with me to finish the show. Basically what I do is I start a sentence which incorporates the name of the show and lead, and then my guest finishes the sentence. Are you game?
I'm game.
Okay. In some future day, drones will revolutionize the way the world functions by
allow us as humans, as operators, to stay safe, stay alive, and go instead of us into dangerous places, search people in horrible events, replace us as soldiers, replace us as security operators, and basically make the world safer.
Aviv, thank you so much for joining me today on Some Future Day. It's really been a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you, Marc.
I know your time is very important, so thank you so much for joining me today. For ongoing insight surrounding these important topics, you can join the conversation on my social media channels, including Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Marc Beckman. And to sign up for my newsletter on Substack, you can find me at marcbeckman.substack.com. To make sure you don't miss a show, be sure to subscribe to Some Future Day across all major platforms worldwide, including YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Special thanks to New York University for producing Some Future Day, and a big shout out to my producer extraordinaire, John Boomhofer, for being patient and always encouraging me to push through. Thanks a lot, John. Have a great day.